I actually went into Coach Rich's office about a month before graduation. I told her I don't know what I'm doing. I know that I love basketball. I know that I love gerontology.
Today on the show, we have LaCaitlin Wright, former college hooper and the Director of Recruiting for the University of Memphis Women's Basketball Program. Welcome back to the show. Today's episode is the third in our special limited series featuring the staff of the University of Memphis Women's Basketball Program. She played college basketball for Towson University wearing number 22 and spent the last 2 years as a graduate assistant at Clemson University. She's also the current Director of Recruiting for the University of Memphis Women's Basketball Program. Welcome to the show, LaCaitlin Wright. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, how are you?
Great. So very happy to have you with us today. And before we get into our conversation with LK, as you like to be called, we want to remind everyone that the Memphis women's basketball tickets are on sale now at GoTigersGo.com. The season kicks off with its very first home game November 9th versus Alabama State at the Elma Roane Fieldhouse on the main campus of the University of Memphis. Season tickets start as low as $31 plus some change, and I hope to see everyone there. I will be there for that opening night kickoff. I'll be there for that opening night game to see you guys in rare form, I hope. So, Caitlin, let's just kick it off with, where did you grow up?
I'm from Alamo, Georgia, a really small town, literally one red light in South Georgia. So the only thing to do there is play basketball. We love sports down there.
That's really cool because I grew up in a town that I think we had 3 red lights.
Yeah.
So I had 2 more than you do. But yeah, it is hard growing up in a town like that where you don't have a lot to do. Was basketball your very first sport that you really liked?
No, actually, I wanted to be a cheerleader. I did not want to play basketball. My whole entire family hooped. My dad played professionally. My mom was actually the high school coach who I played under. So I wanted to do something different. So I reverted to cheerleading for the first few years.
Okay. And so I want to ask a question about, so your dad played professionally overseas or in the States?
Overseas.
Okay. And what years did he play?
I'm not sure. I know he played in France for 11 years.
Really? And what's his name?
Henry Wright.
So we might have him on the show if he's up to
He'd
it.
love to talk about it.
Hey. I have no shame. I'm recruiting potential future guests as we speak. So what did get you into basketball?
Because my mom was a coach, she'd been a coach since I was born. Just the memories that basketball fostered for me. So I just can think back to like learning my letters and things like that on the back of a bus with high school girls, and just the
Right.
family aspect that it brought for me. Going into the gym and actually picking up the ball was the easy part. I felt like I was doing it with family, so it came kind of easy because just the love that basketball made in our gyms, in our programs that I was a part of, it made it easy.
So I also want to give your mom a shout out because we gave your dad a shout out. So what's your mom's name?
Angela, right?
Angela Wright. Did she play college ball?
Yes, she played at Valdosta State University.
Okay, excellent. What was it like? Was your mom your basketball coach then?
She was.
Was that hard?
Um, yes, but I will say it bettered me as a player. And I feel like all coaches' kids will say like the coaching never stops. As soon as you get home, other people can go home to their parents, but my
Right.
coach was in house. So, but it helped me because it was like because it never turned off. I was able to constantly be thinking about my game and thinking about what I needed to change, and it could be little situations that she saw that she could share with me in moments. That really helped me.
It's interesting because I've listened to, because Coach Hardaway he has 2 sons that play on his team, but Jaden has played for him for the past few years. And it's very funny because they've asked Jaden, like, what does he call his dad during practice and stuff? And he's like, I call him dad. So what did you call your mom?
Coach. My mom was big on I had no special treatment. There was nothing like that. She was Coach Wright when we were in the gym. As soon as we stepped off the court, that was mama.
So another thing is when you had some big basket play or something in during a game, did your mom break like her coach's mentality look and like cheer?
She never did.
Wow,
And
she's
she
a
used to
tough
ask her about
one.
yes, I used to ask her because she would cheer for, like, my other teammates, like, really big because she's a lover, she wants you to know you're
Right.
supported, but she was like, "That's what you're supposed to do. I'm not gonna cheer for you, that's what you're supposed to do, you're my
Oh,
daughter." So, it honestly, it motivated me more because when I did finally get her to crack, I knew I did something good. I knew I did something really good.
so kind of an extra goal there to play for. So going into your high school years, when did you start playing basketball? How old were you?
About 6.
Wow, 6 years old. You know, we've interviewed some guys on here who didn't start playing until like a freshman in high school. And that, you know, and then we had a lot most what's interesting, and you said the same thing. What's really interesting is that most of the athletes we've interviewed, basketball or their primary sport that they went into their competitive career with was not their first love. It was not the sport that they started playing. I
Mhm.
found that kind of fascinating. So, going into your high school years, what was your thought process like there? Did you think about college? Was that a constant thing in your head? Because we had talked with Kiki last week, and she said, you know, her mom always ingrained in her that basketball was her key to get out of the town. And so, what was your thought process as you went through your high school years?
It was definitely the same, and I can credit my mom for that and just showing me that basketball could open so many doors for me. As she came from a really small town, almost smaller than mine. So the only reason she was able to make it out and make something of herself was because of basketball. So she showed me, she was like my living example of what basketball could do.
Right.
So she encouraged me with that part. And my father was just also another example of what basketball can offer you and open up to, foreign tours, things like that. Stuff we wouldn't get to see if it wasn't
Exactly.
for the game. So yes, I knew from the beginning, well, I would say my freshman year, I knew that I was doing this for something bigger than me.
Right.
It wasn't just for the door to open for me, but it was for me to open the doors for my teammates, for the people that play under me and behind me, and just the girls now in my hometown that have the opportunity to play and have, you can't do anything until you see somebody else do it most of the time. So
Exactly.
that's really what was my motivating force my freshman year was just to open the door and do something that nobody had done for my hometown.
You know, that's a lot for a freshman to be thinking about, a lot on your shoulders. But you're right. You know, especially young girls, they don't know what's out there if they don't see people that look like them doing it. We expect the men to go and do it. I was talking with someone the other day, and he had a young girl that didn't know all the things she could get a scholarship for as a high school student going into college. And it's because they had just never seen it before. And I think that that is a really great thing. And it shows a lot of maturity on your part as well. Because we had talked about before, you girls don't like talking about yourselves, but I'm going to help you talk about yourself. Um, so when did you start getting recruited by college coaches?
I want to say it was going into the summer of my freshman year. I started playing AAU when I was in 7th grade for a little local team. And it wasn't that big, but it really helped me grow as a basketball player. So going in, I transitioned to another team and I started getting recruitment at that age. So going into my finished up 8th grade that freshman year summer.
Did the AA team, did you guys travel
Yes,
out of state or out of country?
out of state.
Out of state. What was do you have any fun story to tell about your AAU team?
Um, I want to say we used to go to Disney World, the big tournament at Disney, and
Mhm.
I can remember we had you got tickets with the packages that we bought, and
Right.
for some reason we were on the resort. I don't know why my coach picked us on the resort because he knew we were gonna have fun whenever we could, and we got our tickets and we went like right after our tournament ended. It was like 6 p.m. and the park closes at like 9 or something like that. And my coach was like, guys, we're gonna go tomorrow. No, we're gonna go. Just
Right.
stay in, rest. we decided we took it upon ourselves to go to the park. Coach locked us out of the house we were renting.
Oh my God.
We're having fun. It's like 8:45. We're like, we need to head back. You know, our coaches went to dinner, and one of our like bigger, one of my older AU teammates, my older sisters, as they say, was
Right.
supposed to be watching us. Um, we went out, and coach locked us out, and we had to stand outside for at least 30 minutes, just telling he was looking at us through the door. So that's probably one of the funniest stories that I have is just our coach looking at us and locking us out until we apologize for breaking the
Th-
rule.
That's pretty funny. So you started getting recruited by college coaches. What was that process scary? I'm guessing not with your mom kind of being there as a guiding force and your dad.
Yes, it was a little scary for me just because my mom is from the older generation of Hoopers. So like their recruitment wasn't as big as a lot of people's.
Right.
So it was a local team. She was from Tifton, Georgia. Valdosta State is about 20 minutes away. So it was like a local college for her. So she didn't really get the letters or the phone call. So I was one of, and nobody from my hometown really had either. So getting the letters, it was kind of overwhelming for me because I didn't
Right.
know that's what it looked like.
Right.
Um, but she was really helpful in ensuring that I was making the right decisions in what I was doing. So she grounds me. My mom is the person that grounds me in everything that I do.
Right.
So just because I was getting the letters, she was like, "You need to really look into this," and that's what I really pride myself in. For her, I really pride myself in making sure that I look deeply into things.
So how old were you or what year was it when you were started getting recruited?
Uh, I want to say 13, 14, 2014,
So
2013.
that was social media was already in
Mhm.
big swing. Did that have any impact on your recruiting at all?
Yes, especially once I got to my second AU team. Um, that's when, you know, they were posting our highlights. They were doing things like
Right.
that. So I wasn't, my mom is also old school. So it's like, oh, you're gonna get a letter maybe or a call, but like the direct messages and like her
Right.
page and like it was a lot for us, but we tackled it pretty well.
So, that is a lot that athletes, we've talked about that's both good and bad for athletes these days. It's a lot of noise that they, um, have to deal with. And, the kids coming into college now, they probably don't really remember a world without social media. So for them, it's normal. But like your mom is old school, but you've kind of had a bit of both worlds. So, what is it that you say in the recruiting process without giving out any, secret things to any competition? But how do you talk to both the kids and the parents? Because the kids are going to be used to social media and all those things. And the parents are obviously going to remember when there was no social media, maybe. But how do you deal with that split?
I think the one thing that doesn't get old is like a family aspect, and that's what we really have here at Memphis. So that's something even like a young child to understand that you're coming somewhere where you're gonna have a family, a home away from home, and people that love you like we share the same blood type thing. So
Right.
that's something that we really sell here because we do care about each other as deeply as we would if we were actually biological family. And that's something that can go over all generations.
That was something that I noticed immediately when I met you guys at that dinner. I just, I remember, and for those that are wondering, Michael is not on the show today. He had a prior commitment. So I'm flying solo. But when we met at that dinner, I remember like calling him and going, "Oh my God, I just met the whole coaching staff. I love them. I feel like I've known you guys or women forever." There is one guy on the team, on the
Yeah.
staff. But I mean, I just, there was just like this instant, like all your faces were like, you were just so excited about it. And that's what, and then talking to you guys, several people on the staff have children and, the whole process of coming together as a family. And I really love that whole aspect. Now, I do notice for those that are listening on the audio, you're wearing a shirt that says Memphis State 8. So, how does that like, did you know that whole story before you came to Memphis?
I didn't. So it was
And
really fun to learn about.
so what was that like, how did that play into, like, how did you learn about it, and how did that play into where you are at this moment in your life?
We got to learn about it. We actually did a tour. Me and our recruiting coordinator did a tour of campus, and so we
Right.
got to see the old logos and things like that, and then we heard the story. So I feel like right now it just gives me a sense of pride, especially
Right.
being from the South, knowing the discrimination that happens and things like that, and knowing that Memphis was so forward in doing this at an early time when it was something that you really didn't hear of in the South, especially. Um, it gives me a sense of pride because our girls know how heavy it is to represent as Black women.
Right.
Um, and our staff is big on representing as Black women and knowing that we have an extra sense of responsibility to
Right.
show in the way that we do. So I think we put pride in ourselves. We take pride in ourselves, and we take pride in our girls and the opportunity that we have to showcase how important it is to have people of different colors, different backgrounds in one spot and to compete for the same goal, not just in on the court, but off the court as well. It's just a sense of pride, I'll say.
No, I love that. I really do. And I like to see, you know, you obviously grew up in Georgia, but I think that growing up in the South as a whole, I think, you know, we have that pride in growing up here because it is a different environment and the history that goes with that. And I love that you have that t-shirt on today. Let's talk about, you know, that recruitment going into college. How did you decide on, because you started off at Mercer University, correct? And where is Mercer at?
Macon, Georgia,
Okay,
Middle Georgia.
make it. And how did you decide on that college?
It was an hour and a half from home. I was a big
Okay.
family girl. Um, and it gave me the opportunity to do some things that I knew I probably wouldn't be able to do at different schools. I wanted to be a pharmacist out of high school. So they had one of the leading pharmacy schools. And it was a really valuable education. It was a lot of different people came from Mercer University, and the coach, Coach Susie Gardner, gave me an opportunity that I didn't have anywhere else really. She gave me opportunity to be impactful and to grow myself as a woman, um, which I was really thankful for. So I really couldn't say no, honestly.
Can I ask, so when you say she gave you opportunities, what did that really mean? Like, what was the reality of those opportunities?
Um, it would probably it would be just knowing that I could do something that really no one in my family had done before, like being able to accomplish a goal of don't get me wrong, I come from a family of college graduates, but people that they struggled while doing it. They had to work really,
Right.
really hard. And if I could take the burden of financials and work just the
Yes.
worries of that type of thing off my parents,
Yes.
off my family, because it takes a village for everybody.
Sure.
Um, if I could take that off of them, that's something that I was really thankful that she gave me the opportunity to do.
No, I love that because that, you know, that is an aspect that I think media doesn't push out the narrative enough. You know, don't use schools to get your basketball or sports career, use your sports to get your education. And I
Yeah.
think that's really valuable. I did want to ask, so what got you interested in pharmacy? Like, why did you want to be a pharmacist?
I always loved medicine. It just intrigued me.
Why? Like what was that first? See, I get interested about these things. Like,
Okay.
what was that first memory like you come from a family of basketball,
Mhm.
so how did the medicine play a role in that?
Along with Hoopers, a lot of my family are nurses or doctors.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they've always loved just the healing properties of medicine and just learning. I was big on like molecules like that, the actual makeup of the medicine. So that's
Interesting.
really what drew me towards it. Cause I mean, I knew with the nurses in my family, I knew what medicine could do, but I wanted to know more of like what made it medicine, what went into it. So that's what really intrigued me into pharmacy.
I think that's amazing. And so you went in, so you, and what we've discovered is most women, when they go into college playing a sport, they go in with that's not their plan A. Their plan
Mhm.
A is the degree they're going to get. So um, you went into college with that as your goal. And you know, we've talked about you did transfer to Towson University. What was the whole process of you transferring?
It was pretty smooth. I transferred in late summer. Got some calls from Coach Zach Cantor, and Diane Richardson, which were amazing people and just made the process so smooth for me. I left Macon, I want to say in July, and I was at Towson ready to go by August. So it was really smooth.
What was the motivation to transfer?
Um, I guess opportunity. Uh,
Okay.
Mercer gave me amazing opportunities there, but you just want to grow as a player in different ways. So I
Right.
think that's really what drove me to transfer.
Because, the transfer portal these days is, especially this year, has been, I can't even describe like how many players went into the transfer portal. And those days of players going 4 years and staying with the same coach in the same school is kind of over with. So I always look at, what is the forethought in players and why they choose to transfer. So the transfer process went smoothly, and you ended up at Mercer University, Towson University. And what was those few years playing for them? What do you feel is your biggest accomplishment from that time period? Get ready for an action-packed season of the University of Memphis women's basketball. Experience the thrill, the passion, and the power of women's basketball right here in Memphis. Be part of the excitement. Join us in the stands and cheer on our Memphis Tigers. Don't miss out. Get your season tickets today at GoTigersGo.com. What do you feel is your biggest accomplishment from that time period?
It was just growing as an individual, finding myself, and finding my purpose was a big thing that happened to me while I was at Towson University, and I can credit that to my head coach, Diane Richardson. She's a businesswoman first,
Right.
and she taught us how to handle our business at the beginning. We went into everything with our purpose and our mindset first,
Right.
and the goal. We always had the goal before we actually made the action. And she just taught us how to really pay attention to ourselves and what we actually want. Like basketball was one of the last things we worried about at Towson University, and we were pretty successful, but we were always worried about ourselves and what we really wanted to accomplish with the degree that we were given. So I can credit that finding my purpose, being intentional about what I do in the classroom and how I make connections outside of the court. I can credit that to her.
That is really excellent, because we've also talked about the value of networking, and that a lot of athletes, we think, especially the younger generation, don't want to go into those networking opportunities. They're uncomfortable talking to people that they don't know and those kind of things, but those opportunities can really help you. And I love that she was really focused on that. What at that time, what did you think your purpose was? What did you decide that your purpose was?
Um, I think because once I got to Towson, I changed my major to gerontology, which is the study of aging, which is something I'm also very passionate about. Um, and I think in that I learned that I really felt like caring for people first was what my purpose was. I wanted to ensure that people enjoyed their time that we were given on earth, no matter where it was being a child or being an adult or going
Right.
into your afterlife. I wanted to make sure that you are cared for and loved throughout the whole process. Um, and then with Coach Rich, she really put basketball into it because she knew how much I loved the game.
Mhm.
And my purpose was to show people how much basketball can allow you to be caring, allow you to impact people, um, and you can do it at no cost to them. So that was really a big thing she taught me.
So how can you use basketball to impact others and to show
Uh,
caring?
I think it really stems from just the game itself. I think a lot of people forget that basketball is just a game.
Right. Yes.
But, we put a lot of stuff into it, but it's a game and you can have fun and you can show people that, it's bigger than you because it's a team sport. Like
Sure.
you have to care about somebody else in that moment. You have to pass or you're not gonna be successful. So it just teaches how to be compassionate. It teaches how to share, even like the lower levels. It teaches you how to share, it teaches kids how to share. Um, and you have to care about something bigger than yourself to win and to compete at a high level in basketball. And I think it just shows just the money that people put into basketball, the doors basketball can open, really just helps with that. So I think that's really why I was passionate about it.
Well, I mean, just the mere fact that we are talking right now, basketball connected me with Michael. Basketball connected you and I together and the rest of the staff. And I didn't even play basketball. I didn't play any sports as a child. So, Memphis has a lot of love for basketball. It is a basketball city. contrary to what all these other people want it to be. But it is. And I think that that's a really, a really great oversight that I want everybody to kind of keep in mind is it is just a game, but you can use that game to impact a lot of people. And I love that. So you finished up at Mercer. No, Towson. I'm getting that backwards. You're finished up at Towson. And what was the process? Like what was your mindset when you graduated? What did you think you were going to do? Or did you already have an idea?
I had no idea. My thing was I knew at some point I wanted to go into mortuary science and stuff like that, but I didn't want to do it as soon as I graduated because I was like, that's heavy stuff to go
Wait a
in
minute.
right
You
after
said mortuary science? I know
Yes,
what that is.
yes. I wanted to go in because my degree was in gerontology, which is the study of aging.
Yes.
So I was really intrigued in the latter part of that process. So I was gonna go and get my mortuary science license and degree, and eventually own my own funeral home.
Wow. And
Yeah.
I say that because I don't want to say weird, but my mom grew up in a really small town, and she grew up in a 2-room house behind the city cemetery. So
Mhm,
for me, I grew up around tombstones, and
mhm.
I had an affinity for archaeology and those kind of things. So um yeah, I very much not the recent dead, but
Yeah.
the older dead people. But anyway, okay, we digress a little bit. Sorry about that. We're just here to talk about everything. So how did you end up at Clemson?
I actually went into Coach Rich's office about a month before graduation. I told her I don't know what I'm doing. I know that I love basketball. I know that I love gerontology, but I don't want to go into that right now. And I want to wait. I didn't necessarily want to play professionally, but I want to stay in the game. And she gave me a task. She was like, she introduced to me um about GA process. I had a GA at Mercer, but I didn't really know how to get into that. So she just
Right.
introduced me a little deeper into what that was, and she told me to go literally every conference in the country and then look at see if they offer GA programs, and I had to write them all down and find their contact information. So I had
I
to go
love
back.
can I just tell you I love your coach? Like I
Yeah.
love her.
She's amazing. So I had to come back to her with that information. And she's such a well-known person, especially in the Baltimore DMV area.
Right.
And she made some calls. So she made a call to Coach Butler, and they gave me an opportunity to interview. So after that, I interviewed, and thankfully that I got the position. So
I want to go back just a second. And you said you didn't really want to play professionally overseas. What was the reasoning behind that?
um I'm big on family and being
Right.
separated from my family. And just because the discrepancy between professional basketball for
Sure.
men and women are such
Yes.
stark differences. Um, I knew the toll that being away from my family would take on me, and if it wasn't worth it enough to
Sure.
take that, that's what really kind of made me switch.
Especially if you're going to a country where English is not the first language, that's another barrier there.
Mm.
And we've already heard in our past interviews how, you know, some of the teams that the guys play on overseas don't have that great of, love for them, not love for them, but all of they don't have the locker rooms like we do over here, and all the support that's built around that. And so I can only imagine that the women's teams are less than the men's teams. But that is I think that's a valid point to bring out, and I think that that is something that even over here with the WNBA, there's a lot of push to
Hmm.
really impact them. I was talking to somebody the other day about why don't they change the WNBA schedule to coincide with the NBA schedule, because it makes more sense not to have it you know uh, I see it as it brings more people in for both teams. If you could schedule it like the women's team play and then the men's team play right after it, if that's feasible, because in college that kind of happens, not all the time, but I'm just pushing some thoughts out there.
I love the debate.
Okay, so Clemson, what did Clemson teach you?
So much. Amanda Butler is the head coach there, and her saying is, handle your business like a woman, Hibla. And that's along with Coach Rich pushing me to find my purpose and grow. I think Coach Butler really helped me mold myself into the woman that I am today. She taught me just how to face my issues, face my problems head on. Any questions I had to vocalize it because no one will know if I don't say anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, she taught me just how to find my coaching voice, which is something that she told me from day one. I can remember I was standing on the sideline in Little John, and I was cheering them on, but she came over to me and she said, "I want you to remember from this moment on, you're a coach. You're a coach."
Wow.
Told me that, and I will never forget that. So that I had a mindset shift that day, to just have somebody speak life into you about something you've always wanted to be. Once you change your mind to know what you wanted, and to hear somebody validate that, on your literal first day of practice was
Right.
amazing. So she really just helped me continue to find my coaching voice and just the little things that make coaching fun.
You know, that is important, especially for women, because I think, and I've heard this saying, and I've had somebody say it to me, don't play small. And I think as women, we have a tendency to really play small and not own the so-called, and I put power in air quotes, but not own the power that we have or are given, um, because of various reasons. And I love that, you know, she shift, and I love the fact that you listened to her and stepped into that power that she reminded you that you had. So let's look at when you started at Clemson and when you ended Clemson. What what do you think was the biggest change in you as a person, as a woman? Let's do that. What do you think the biggest change was in you as a woman from that first moment you walked on campus at Clemson to the moment you left Clemson?
Oh, that's a big one.
I'm asking tough questions today. Michael's not here, and I'm just like, woo.
um, I would say it would have to be that I truly can do anything that I put my mind to. Before, as women, we're taught to be polite before we're taught to be powerful.
Sure.
So, a lot of times we ask for permission. It's, oh,
Mhm.
can you help? Like, but she really taught me from that first day and over those 2 years that if you want to do something, go do it. So I could say when I left Clemson University, if I had an idea, I could go do it. Like,
Right.
yes, I might need assistance, but I'm also gonna know how to vocalize that now. Like, I'm gonna know how to ask for assistance and still be on my purpose and on my path. I'm gonna handle the business like a woman should.
Right.
So I think that was the growth that I really had, was just being able to do what I said I was gonna do. And I can credit that to her and her amazing staff there.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that, you know, that's an amazing contribution on her part just to women in general. But I love that she really like pushed that. And I also love that you realize that about yourself. You know, it's self-awareness is a big thing. And I really love that. Let me ask you this. If we go back and talk about your love of basketball and then wanting to care for people as they age,
Mhm.
what do you think sports can, I'm pushing this out there again. What do you think you can use sports as a way to increase the um, increase people's health as they age?
Um, just continuing the movement process, because
Right.
basketball doesn't have to be a fast game. And the connection piece that basketball brings can help um overall benefit communities.
Sure.
Because you have to have, even 3-on-3, you gotta have at least 6 people
Right.
to move. So you'll see also in like communities like underprivileged communities like that I grew up in,
Right.
basketball is a big thing because it's a cheaper sport. You just
Sure.
need a ball and a rim. But it gets you moving. It brings community, and you want people to come play with you. And as people age, like, the game doesn't change. But like football, you're not getting hit at that age. Like, you're
That's
not
right.
putting anybody out there. And golf, where it's a slower sport, not as much movement, but you have to be strong in golf. Where basketball, you're constantly moving. It have to be fast, but you're always going up and down. And it also builds the community to want to see your sister or your brother
Sure.
get better and, do things that require them to be healthy. So I will say I feel like sports and basketball in general can just breed just a level of integrity about the sport and integrity about your health throughout the process.
I also think that, you can go pick up a basketball and go shoot hoops by yourself. You can't really do that with football. In golf, I think, that's to me, it's a higher monetary value you have to put into it, those kind of things. So let's talk now about how you got to Memphis. How did you get to Memphis?
I'm still figuring it out, to be really honest. Oh, it was nothing but God, honestly. It's really crazy to think about because Coach Alex and her staff were at Gardner Webb previously where they won championships.
Right.
In our first game of my second year at Clemson, we played Gardner Webb. And our double now, I let them in the door. I had never met them before. I didn't really know them. But I let them in the door and it was just literally I can remember the connection I had seeing them. And it goes back to what we talked about Memphis State, the pride that they
Sure.
had on their appearance and the way they showed up. I just will never forget that. And the connection we didn't like we connected for, letting them in the gym, doing my
Right.
G stuff. But we didn't really talk throughout the season or anything. They accomplished so much that season, but we didn't really keep that connection as heavily as we should have. Or I should have. But one thing that Coach Alex says a lot now that she didn't stop looking at me. Like I think basketball does a great job of opening doors for people and you never really know who's looking at you. You never really know who's watching what you do.
Exactly.
Um so I remember when she first called me about the job, she was like, I have been watching you over your 2 years at Clemson. And I was just like, oh, like, oh, okay. So that's really she saw me and she had the opportunity and she really had faith in me that I'd be able to do this. So I'm really grateful that she saw the opportunity for me to come in and help her continue to build Memphis up. Um, so I was really happy about it.
Did she say what really drew her to you?
I think my connection piece, the fact that I really am intentional about connecting people and showing up in spaces where making spaces safe and comfortable
Right.
for people to be their best self and elevate themselves in a way that they can take pride in who they are
Sure.
from the beginning to the end.
Had you ever been to Memphis before?
I hadn't. I never even been to Tennessee.
I'm gonna start laughing. Um, Kiki also said last week she's from the Nashville area, or no, I'm sorry, the Knoxville. Everybody's going together in my mind now. She's from the Knoxville area, and she'd never been to Memphis. So, what was the date like? What she got here? I think June 1st. When did you get here to Memphis?
I got here late July. No. Yeah, I think it was like middle July,
Okay,
late July.
okay. Were you nervous about coming to Memphis?
Very nervous. I was more nervous because I didn't know like you have the Penny Hardaways, like Memphis is a basketball town, as you alluded to earlier. So I think I was just more nervous. Like I wanted to continue that the pride that Memphis has, and I wanted to ensure that I was able to do
I love you. You just made me fall in love with you. I swear.
that.
Okay. Um, you're right, and it's hard. We've talked a lot about in other episodes about it's hard for Memphis kids to play for Memphis because the fan base is just so they just feel like they own the team, and it's harder. Um, and maybe not so much for you, but I love the fact that was one of the things that you felt like this responsibility to make Memphis proud regardless.
Mhm.
What was the favorite thing that you've done this summer? I know you guys, especially you, were out recruiting a lot, but did you have an opportunity since you've moved here to get out and kind of see the city, and what are some of the things that you've taken part in?
Um, I would say one of my favorite things that we've done as a team is we volunteered at the youth villages, the Rose Center.
Yes, I saw
Um,
that.
so I think that was one of my favorite moments that I've had so far with our team. Was just seeing them interact with people, Memphis kids and
Right.
give back to Memphis because Memphis gives us so much. But personally, I would say it would probably have to be the Peabody. I'd never been in the Peabody before, so seeing the ducks walk around was really
Oh,
cool.
yes. Hey, I act like a little kid too when I saw them.
So that was really cool. And I'll say the farmers market. They have a huge one here. And I mean I'm from like obviously the South, so we have little ones, but just seeing the gravity of the one here was really cool.
Yes. I always like to say Memphis is a big small town or a small big town, whichever way that goes. But you're absolutely right. And are you excited about this season? I'm sure
I'm
that's
so
kind of a
excited.
given. I am too. And I've said before, I didn't grow up liking women's basketball. Um, I didn't really understand the importance of Memphis basketball until I started college here. And but the last two seasons when Coach Merriweather came, I was really excited about that, and I don't necessarily understand exactly why I was. Maybe because I just moved back from Houston in 2020, so sports was one of the reasons that I wanted to come back home, because it's that connection with all the people and that impact. But I'm so excited about your season coming up, and very much so. And we've kind of talked about, my last question here is, what do you think your biggest value is now as a member of the staff? And also personally, like, what do you think your biggest value is?
Um
I'm asking
to
those tough questions.
I think my answer would just be to continue to keep us competitive. Because Coach Alex and the coaches here, we do a great job of competing on the court. And I think my value comes from competing off the court. So when it comes to recruiting process, the things that we offer, fighting for our girls in spaces to get them more, for them to show up more. I think that's the value that I bring to our staff.
Right.
And personally, I think the value that I bring is just to continue the connection that basketball already fosters. Just making it a safe space and a family, just not just extended to our 15 girls and staff members, but to the Memphis community itself. Memphis does a great job of presenting itself as a unit, and we just want to be a part of it and just making the two continue to flow together seamlessly.
So are you guys playing Clemson this season? You're playing Tennessee, but I don't know if you're playing Clemson.
The men are. We
The
aren't
men.
this season.
Are you looking forward to that matchup though?
I
Wait,
am.
so could there possibly, I'm always looking for breaking news. Could there possibly be a Memphis women's, Clemson women's game next season or in the future?
I hope so. I definitely hope so. I know both teams are well coached, so it will be a really good game for sure.
Excellent. Okay, so just hang on a second. So I just want to remind everybody that the Memphis women's basketball tickets are on sale now at gotigersgo.com. And the season kicks off with their first home game November 9th versus Alabama State at the O'Maroon Field House on the main campus of the University of Memphis. And as we come to the end of this fifth quarter podcast, I want to remind everyone to give us a follow on Apple, Spotify, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Why do we want you guys to do that? Because one, it lets us know what episodes you like. It also, the more that you follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us reviews, the more people will have the opportunity to find these podcasts. We love hearing feedback from you. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor for our show, you can contact us through our website at fifthquarterpodcast.com. And a reminder, go to gotigersgo.com to purchase your season tickets for the Memphis women's basketball 2023-24 season. Caitlin, LK, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such an honor. And guys, until next time, remember, change is our ally and it paves the way for greatness. And I hope you learned so much from LK today. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the week.